Holiday season. Hey, welcome to my channel. That was one of my favorite tags. My name is Nayim Edwards. Happy fucking holidays. Completely over all the nonsense we've been dealing with for the past couple weeks. This past week, to be honest. So let's just do something a little bit different today. Something a little more lighthearted. Something practical that you can carry with you. And this is my gift to any songwriter that's over here. Anybody think about getting into songwriting. Anybody who ever wanted to know how these things go. So let's talk about successful advertisements, successful mainstream commercials, and how to write one. Number one, follow the fucking instructions that they put on the paper. When a company or somebody approaches you, you automatically, well, you should know that they are approaching you from the standpoint that you're going to bring your creative flair already. Otherwise, they wouldn't have approached you. This isn't the time for you to go in there. Now, I can tell you what I do, and I'll tell you that in a second, but this isn't the time to go in there and say, fuck anything that's written on the paper. I'm going to do whatever I want to. When you're first walking in the door or you're at the table, depending on what the situation is, and that's another thing, but if you first walking in the door and they say, hey, we need an advertisement that says we need this specific line used because this is our tagline, we need these specific words, we're catering to this specific type of demographic, this is what we would need. You need to follow the instructions like it's the holy fucking Bible put in your face, because that is going to open the realm of possibility for you being able to work in other projects. You obviously get the credit unless you ghostwrite in a commercial, or I mean, you would know, but you want to make sure you do get your credit and shit. But it's gonna open the possibility for them coming back to you and wanting to work more. That's how I got with Activia, is because you came to me because you liked my voice, because you heard something before and you felt that I would be a good fit and a good whatever for what you was doing when you're with your whole rebrand. So they came back and was like, yeah, we want to do this like full time. So you want to make sure you follow the instructions. I don't want to be here too long because it's a few simple steps, and then we'll probably do a part 2 later. But second thing you want to make sure is you do your fucking research. You don't want to write an advertisement that you're catering to 25 to 30 plus crowd, but the really target demographic for whatever they're advertising or whatever the commercial is for 18-year-olds and 12-year-olds. An 18-year-old and 12-year-old is not enticed by the same type of shit that goes into a 25 and a 30-year-old. That's going to be very important, because that's the difference between getting your commercial thrown the fuck in the trash or proceeding with when it's time to do the edits and when it's time to do the shit with whoever the music supervisor is, or whoever the fuck is in charge of making sure you get to the final product. Now, when you first get started, you might not have the opportunity to personally talk to a music supervisor, or personally talk to the president, or personally talk to the head of marketing, or be a part of that marketing team, or sit down with anybody. But with step 1 and step 2, and they're not really necessarily in order, it's just you want to make sure you follow the instructions. You want to make sure you're well rounded in the information that you know about writing a commercial. It has less to do, these 2 steps have less to do with the actual writing, but more to do with making sure that you're well rounded enough where people can trust you with their vision. I would say number 3, but I probably end up losing count. But after you make sure you follow the instructions on the paper, you do your research, you become well-rounded about whatever you're trying to push and promote, you want to work on your lyrics. The thing with advertising in the mainstream sector is there's usually alternate versions of the same advertisement. It's never one version of whatever a commercial is. There's usually, so if we have, depending on what the company is and what the situation is, because everybody's going to have different requirements and different versions and different things. There's going to be a 60-second version, a 30-second version, a 15-second version, a 6-second version, and a 3-second version. All of those are going to be different. The 60-second version would probably be the whole complete song. And that would be something that they might run on YouTube. They might play somewhere else. They might, a 60-second version would be something that would be ringing on a longer program, maybe a Hulu ad or something. Somebody's on a streaming service that they're not able to just click away from. So they'll have that 60-second version. But that's usually just so they can take parts out of it. If it's an intermediate situation, they'll have a 45-second version, but it's really no different than a 60-second version. So it's usually 60-second, 30-second. So when you have the 30-second version, that is usually the version that if you have a longer time slot, let's just say your commercial plays on Lifetime, and I'm speaking from experience. I'm not speaking from the point of a research. I do my work. We know that over here, but I'm telling you because I've had to do all of this, and I've done it this year. I've done it year before that, year before that, year before that. Your 30-second version is going to be that main version that most people will be able to see if they have longer slots on TV, if they have a slot on digital advertisement, if they have a slot on the radio, anywhere that the advertisement will be able to be ran and they have a long slot. The 15-second version of a commercial is usually going to be the most popular version. So you want to make sure when you write your 15-second version or when you're chopping your 60-second down to, and you won't have to do it by yourself unless they trust you to do it by yourself. But when you first start, you probably won't be doing it alone. You want to make sure that your 60-second version, you have the most range because you can say whatever you want to say. You can do whatever you want to do because you have more time to convey a message. Your 30-second version, you have more time to convey a message. It's going to be just half of whatever. So you want to take the key points out. That 15-second version is the most important and the most popular version of the commercial because that's the one that most people are going to see, the one that most people the most people are going to hear, and that's the one that most people are going to remember. If we're talking about being able to remember a full version of a commercial, and we'll talk about catchiness and shit right after this, after I finish explaining these. But that's the one, that 15-second version is the most important one. You're going to want to get your phrases in there. You're going to want to pull the keywords out, you want to put the most of your work into that 15-second one because that is going to be very, very, very important. That 15 and that 30-second one, because usually the 15-second version of the commercial is all the keywords and the key language from the 30-second commercial condensed down to that. The 6-second version will be like the most standout catchy line and whatever the tagline is, and the 3-second version of the commercial would be the tagline. So when I do Activia commercials, your gut is where it all begins. Or Activia, your gut is where it all begins, or anything like that. That's like this very quick version of it that they can play when they have a 3-second time slot on TV, a 3-second time slot on a YouTube non-skippable ad. Just using these as an example. And so after you figure out what you want to write and figure out all of that and what you want to do, what was after that? I had already said it. Fuck. I never go in order. I should probably write lists. But what we said you got to follow the instructions on the paper. You got to do your research so you know who your targeting demographic is, and we broke down the times for the things. Now you got to understand that this is never going to be one and done. It's always going to be somebody to send you back some notes, somebody to send you back something else. You might do your advertisement, write it could be perfect and nothing can be wrong with it, but now it's time to shut up and let the people who are deciding the fate of the advertisement. Because if you even got to the point where they want to work with you, they're not going to they shouldn't, but I ain't going to say they shouldn't, but they're usually not going to just discard you and throw you away like a piece of trash because it didn't come out how they wanted to, unless you just completely disregarded their instructions, completely did something else, or they say, we want to kind of change the direction. So you're going to have to be patient because you're going to do a lot of edits. You're going to do a lot of recording. You will be surprised how long it takes to record 30 seconds, how long it takes to record 60 seconds, how long it takes to get the tagline right, because maybe you was too high in pitch, maybe it was too this, maybe they wanted to change it, maybe the tagline in the 15-second version is not the same as the tagline in the 6-second version, or the 60-second. It's just all type of shit. You're gonna get feedback. You can't personalize that. You never ever personalize shit when you're working with a corporation, because their job isn't to please you. We're talking about ads. You got to make sure. Now I remember I was gonna say you need to make sure that we'll talk about, and so I don't forget, it's what you actually need to say. And I'll wrap it up there because I don't want to, because we can really sit here all day with the mechanics, but you have to be able to take criticism and have to be able to take feedback. When you're writing songs, especially when you get to a mainstream level of writing music, if it's not, and especially in a sector of mainstream music where your face is not attached to it if you're not actually in it. When we're talking about writing music and directing commercials and doing shit, and I'm talking about commercial advertising, it could be anything, but this is strictly about commercial advertising. You want to make sure that you are not personalizing, you are not taking it like people are saying you trash. They're saying we know what we want and we know what is best. If you, because you eventually, when you working, you get to that point where you get the creative freedom and the creative control. What I personally do before, because I'm not at step in stage one of writing advertisements at this point. Multiple companies, multiple ads. Some you know, some you don't. But what I do, which is I think is a good practice. I don't know if other people feel this way because it's more time consuming, and most of the time I just throw that, because depending on, it just depends on who my client is. Because we'll come back and talk about money another time, but depending on who my client is, if I have a really big client, like Fortune 500 client, I'm sending alternative versions of what they ask for, and that is a way to get around, not get around, but like play around with whatever they put on the paper. Because if they see you know how to do multiple versions, or you can do multiple versions, and multiple versions it could be the same thing you wrote. You don't have to write anything new. You don't have to do anything different. You did it in a different pitch. You did it in a different voice. You did it with a different energy level. You did it different. I send usually no less than 5 different versions of everything I do. Some of them are written. Now the lowest I'll really go is 3, but really it's between, usually 3 is the minimum. The maximum I've ever done is 17 different versions. And you will ask yourself, how the fuck do you do 17 different versions? There's 100 different ways to say hello. Hello, my name is Nayim. There's 100 different ways to say that. So you can do it however many ways you want to. That's if you want to. Now, because it's time consuming, but that's what I do as a courtesy. You could charge for it if you want to, but I don't take it personal when somebody comes back to me and say they want to change something else. They have a suggestion for something else. That's the whole purpose of being in this shit, because you have to be likable and you need to be able to be somebody that people can work with. You don't want to be that person that's, I'm not doing the ad over again. I don't care what they say. I did it 12 times, but it's just like, if you're getting paid 12 times money, I could see if you didn't want to do it or whatever, but that's going to be the difference between excelling in this business and falling flat on your feet. And I'm going to end on this point right here. The last thing, we'll come back for the second part of this, but the last thing you want to make sure you do. What I say? Damn, bro, my memory is jacked today. I've been out, got my snowsuit on. But the last thing you want to make sure you do is pick your language correctly. You want to make sure that, not pick your language correctly, you want to make sure you are able to convey that message as fast as possible. You only get 3 seconds. Your first 3 seconds is the most important. Whether it be a sound, a tone, a ding, or something to grab people's attention, you want to make sure you have people's attention and get a reaction, because subconsciously what these advertisements do is, you might not fuck with Activia. This is not a commercial for them, but if you might not fuck with Activia, you might not like Activia yogurt, but guess what? You remember, like, you'll see it and you'll be in the store and you'll walk by it and you'll say a tagline. You'll be in the store, or you'll hear the thing and then you'll just subconsciously want to do it. You'll subconsciously, it'll be playing in your mind. Or every time you see something, you start singing it. Or every time, like, little subtle things. And it'll be stuff that has nothing to do with whatever is being advertised. And I'm just using my shit as an example, but like, it'll have something to do with something that is not even advertised. That is how it's programming, it's advertising. This is how these things work. So you want to make sure you pick language, you pick things, you pick subtle things. Or if you're putting it together, even if you have to, like, if you have a chance or whatever the production is, if you have a production team or you have to do the production and the songwriting for the music for the commercial, or working around the advertisement in any way, you want to pick words and stuff that'll stick, that'll have, like, that have stickiness to them, and you want to pick stuff that is going to be memorable. So you might be like, because me, I personally consider myself I am a lyricist for real. However, I know when to be a lyricist, and I know how to capture and how to display the characteristics and the attributes that need to be displayed when it is time. I can't come in here lyrical miracle. You're not gonna believe that. But if I say, like I started this junk off holiday season, hey, that's an advertisement for DJ Holiday. You know what I'm saying? Like, little things like this make a difference. Every single thing you do makes a difference. And if you can get that stickiness to what you're doing, even if people don't like it, that's another thing. When it comes to ads, all attention is good attention. I don't give a fuck what nobody say, because people will be talking about it, people will check it out, people will come look, and they might actually stumble upon something else they like. So you might do an ad for this, but it end up being positive and good for a whole nother situation. So we're gonna wrap up on that note. I just wanted to do something a little just away from everything and everybody. We got a Christmas special for y'all tomorrow. It's probably not gonna be long or nothing crazy. Like, in my specials, I like to do 30 minutes or more, or 25 to whatever. But thank you for tuning in. If you made it this far, I appreciate y'all, man, for understanding. I'm still slow as the fuck is my cat doing? I got to go.